Hi everybody, welcome to IndyCar on Thursday, and it's, what is it today, the 15th today? Well, we'll better do a date check, you know what I'm like for dates, yeah. Okay, so we've got the 15th of August. Okay, the news today again is concerning the Labour Party, among other things, but primarily the big news everywhere at the moment is Jeremy Corbyn's plans for thwarting a no-deal Brexit. Now, in the last few days, we've seen a number of moves by the Labour Party. First of all, with John McDonnell saying that he didn't think the Labour Party would stand in the way of a second independence referendum. We then saw Richard Leonard having a bit of a meltdown because that completely contradicted everything that the Scottish Labour Party had been saying. Then we discover that somebody named Leonard, Colleen Leonard, has started a new Labour Party Limited in Scotland, a new Scottish Labour Party Limited, and registered an office at a derelict shop front in Crow Road. Almost as if somebody in Scottish Labour wants to be ready to re-register as a new party in an independent Scotland. And then today we have Jeremy Corbyn coming out and actually saying it, that he will not stand in the way of another independence referendum, which I would take as kind of diplomatic code for if you scratch our back, we'll scratch yours. In other words, if the SNP were to throw its weight behind a coalition or a grouping of anti-hard no-deal Brexiteers, in other words, people who are against Boris Johnson's plan to go out without a deal, there should be, or hopefully would be, enough of a majority there to stop the Tories, to get them out. So Corbyn's plan is to call for a vote of no confidence in Boris Johnson, have him basically chucked out. That takes about 14 days for Johnson to come up with a vote of confidence and try to win it back. If he doesn't, then it goes to a general election. And after that, well, we have to wait and see. But with only with a majority of just one single MP, Boris Johnson's in a very vulnerable position. Corbyn, according to Joe Swinson, is too divisive a figure to lead as Prime Minister. But to be honest with you, would you really want Joe Swinson leading any kind of coalition? Personally wouldn't, and she's my MP. Anyway, that's an aside. But what's interesting at the moment is the fact that the Labour Party is now scheming. And they're now scheming in such a way as to offer the SNP the dangling carrot of not just an independence referendum, but one which they will abide by the result of, one would assume. Now, the Labour Party hasn't specifically said that they will offer a Section 30 order to the SNP. The SNP is, I think, guardedly enthusiastic about this idea, but obviously they will not be happy unless Corbyn states categorically and publicly that the Labour Party will commit itself to giving the SNP and the Scottish people a Section 30 order which will fully endorse the entire referendum and abide by its result. This is what is necessary for Scottish independence to be recognised here and internationally. As somebody said in the SNP, it was probably Nicholas Sturgeon, this is the gold standard of how to become independent by peaceful means, without resorting to violence of any kind. Now, it can be achieved. We saw what can happen in 2014. Unfortunately, the British government ran that referendum for us, and we know what happened. But despite the fact that we were massively outnumbered and outgunned, that we had no media to speak of whatsoever on our side, we still managed to increase our vote by 28% to 45%. Now, that was remarkable inside 2 years. We're now sitting with an actual lead in the polls, albeit only a small one of 2%, according to the polls, I'm saying. So we have every chance of winning this referendum, and with the looming spectre of a no-deal Brexit and the absolute chaos that this will cause, plus the stated objectives of Boris Johnson, and putting riot police on the street, introducing curfews, and giving almost limitless powers to the security services to do as they wish during any kind of emergency, you can see that there is a threat to democracy in Scotland if we don't take some kind of action. So Corbyn has timed his move perfectly. I'm still waiting to see if he offers a Section 30 order. I think if the Section 30 order is actually mentioned and it becomes a condition of the SNP accepting this agreement as it stands at the moment, then there is a good strong chance that first of all Brexit can be averted, and in exchange for helping to avert it, we can get our independence referendum. Now, when I say averting a Brexit, what I really mean to say is averting a no-deal Brexit, because Corbyn, although he's saying he's going to run a second referendum on Brexit, he could still lose that. There might still be Brexit. In fact, there probably still will be a Brexit of some kind, but just not crashing out without a deal, one would hope. Northern Ireland faces the same problems, being ignored by Westminster and having their peace and security destroyed, basically, for the sake of England wanting out of the European Union. Fintan O'Toole, writing in the Irish Times today, has said it's not so much now a case of the Republicans in Ireland now trying desperately to get Northern Ireland away from Britain and Britain hanging on to it and trying to preserve the Union. The United Kingdom is now essentially quite happy to cast both Scotland and Northern Ireland under the bus in exchange for their ambitions to become independent of Europe, if you want to say it that way. So it's no longer the case of the people of Northern Ireland trying to be persuaded to become part of the Republic. It's now a case that the British government no longer wants Northern Ireland, and it no longer cares about Scotland either, so long as Brexit happens. And as Fintan says, this is a complete reversal of the original situation. Even 10 years ago, it was completely the other way around. The Americans are now saying they won't give a trade deal to the UK if they break the Good Friday Agreement. So despite what Trump might be saying, or Boris Johnson, the fact is that the American House of Representatives and Congress will not allow Trump to give Britain a trade deal if the Good Friday Agreement is destroyed and it leads to violence in Ireland. So everything has changed, and there is probably now never ever going to be a better time for both the Labour Party to offer a Section 30 order and for the SNP to accept that offer. Everybody gets what they want then. The country is saved from a no-deal Brexit, at least in the meantime. Scotland gets to vote on whether it wants to remain in a country which is as badly divided as it is over leaving or staying in the EU. And Northern Ireland, one would hope, will be offered the chance of a border poll, because now the forces that are tearing the United Kingdom apart are coming from London and not coming from elsewhere. It's not the Celtic nations which are breaking the Union, it's actually the English government itself which is tearing the Union apart in order to leave the European Union. So again, we're getting closer and closer to a very historic point now, and it's almost like we want to just be buying a popcorn and watching this happen, but we can't do that. We have to maintain the pressure all the time. So we now know that the march in Aberdeen is going ahead. All Under One Banner has refused to pay the massive amounts of money which the Aberdeen City Council wanted them to pay for the costs of policing the event. And Police Scotland, which is a national police force, will absorb the cost. So All Under One Banner are expecting somewhere between 15 and 20,000 people, although they've said modestly it might be 10,000 in Aberdeen, but you know what these marches are like, they always end up bigger than we expect. Anyway, I hope All Under One Banner are successful and they get tens of thousands of people out in Aberdeen. We need to keep the pressure on constantly. Also wanted to mention Martin Keating's event at Dunfermline. Now this is not All Under One Banner. This is Forward as One. This is a different kind of event. This is a short march in a very small location to a large park where there will be events on all afternoon with speakers, with music, with stalls. It's basically a fun day out, and normally that attracts somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000 people. It's not as big, but just as much fun. So Martin Keating's event, I think, is going off towards the end of August. I'll check. I think it's the 29th of August. Martin will probably correct me if I'm wrong. But all of these events need to continue. I made a wee suggestion yesterday, I don't know if anybody noticed it, that the final big march and rally that we do just before Brexit Day, assuming Brexit is about to happen, we should do it in fancy dress. We should do it in Halloween costumes. Make it a theme of our biggest march to date. Make it a massive Halloween party. Let's get dressed up as our favourite political characters, or do tableaus or something like that. Wee Scribble's a favourite of mine. In past marches, always has some innovative new costume, some new satire. So maybe that's something we could think about. It's a good idea to constantly change the format of our marches and try and encourage more families and more youngsters and people to join in from the streets that we march through. That's what a popular movement is really about. It's about having fun, it's about showing your support, and it's about doing it in a peaceful way, for fun, no drinking, no swearing, no fighting. We don't need any of that. That is what you get from the unionist side. That's what you get from the Orange Order marches. You get the drinking, the swearing, the spitting, pushing people around. We don't do that. Anyway, that's about it for today. So, what else can I say? Jeremy Corbyn, all you got to do now is offer a Section 30 to Nicola Sturgeon, and I think the game is afoot. I hope so, anyway. I'll be back again tomorrow, incidentally, where I'll have more news and a little bit more analysis of the day's events. There's probably a few things I've forgotten to mention to you today, but I will come back tomorrow. So if I've forgotten anything today, I apologise. And if I haven't got the dates right on things, then set me straight and I'll correct them later on. Alright, I'll see you all later. Bye bye for now.